Hello, everybody, and welcome into the first edition of the UIS Coaches Show with the UIS first-year head coach, Summer Quesenberry. Coach, appreciate you taking the time.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
So, should be a lot of fun this year. Anytime it's a first-year head coach, a lot of people think, it might be a transition year, but you guys have played pretty well in the early going, 2 close losses. Biggest takeaways from those first 2 games, maybe?
I think absolutely we're young, and obviously it's very new in terms of philosophy and even inexperience in terms of our upperclassmen. Majority of our roster wasn't relied upon heavily even last year. And so in terms of games and minutes played as of right now. And so learning a new philosophy and applying it was good to face teams like Tiffin, like Purdue Northwest, so that we could see where we are in terms of the gaps of our philosophy, applying our philosophy, and definitely things that we've been working on in the preseason, how we're matching up. And so it afforded us the opportunity to really narrow in on those things since this weekend and going into this home stretch.
Definitely, and jumping forward to tonight, at the time of this recording, home opener coming up tonight, but then it's 5 straight home games for you guys. It's got to be pretty exciting to, probably make yourself at home a little bit.
Right,
here.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully our players find comfort in terms of the gym that we get to play in every single day. In terms of again, defensive philosophy that we're working really hard on, and then offense, players tend to buy into offense, especially a fast-paced offense quickly. It's the defensive side of the ball that takes some time, and that's where we're really zeroing in on and trying to improve.
You mentioned, a lot of the roster wasn't relied upon last year, but you did bring in 2 transfers from Alderson Broadus, Sahara Murphy and Uriah Douglas.
Yes, absolutely. And those are players that played a significant amount of minutes for us last year. At Alderson Broadus afforded us the opportunity to make the Mountain East Conference and compete at a very high level. We won, I think, the last 8 of 11 games with all freshmen last year. And so they, again, coming in here will absolutely help our team and progress here as Prairie Stars, essentially, and be relied upon in the same capacity now as sophomores.
Yeah. And you come into a program that is really on the upward ascent, and you turned around Alderson Broadus, the program you were coming from. So what do you think the expectations are for this season?
We're working on just being consistent in our values, and I'm very big on, as a coach, we control the controllables, and so we work on things, in terms of consistency would be our conditioning, and that was different for them in terms of what our expectations were and rising to that occasion, as well as our communication, and again, that's been another level of controllables and emphasizing and holding each other accountable in terms of communication. And then I'm big on teaching defense, how we close out, help, deny, and all those things, I guess, that kind of make us a defensive-oriented team. And again, I feel like that's something that's controllable. So the more we stick to those values and apply them and no wiggle room, right? No wiggle room that this is what we're doing, the better this team can get as we continue within that's all we can hope for every day to improve within the conference.
And you mentioned controlling the controllables. One thing you really can't control is injuries. And
right.
I understand a number of players have run into injuries over the offseason. Maybe could you give us a few updates on a few of the injured players, and specifically Malia Jackson, who was a big impact player last season? Yeah,
we inherited about 4 players who had suffered injuries either at the conclusion of last season or over the summer. And those players are all in various stages of return. And so that's another thing that kind of adds a different dynamic to the team. When we progress, I'm very big on the whole team kind of moves forward as a unit. And so when we're absorbing a player that maybe has been out for the last 16 weeks, it kind of it changes things. And so, we hope that they're back by mid-December. That's the goal. And everything each week has been different, to be honest, for the team and for the players. So we're doing our best to move forward and relying upon the help of our athletic training staff and strength and conditioning coaches to help the team progress.
Now, jumping back on the court in terms of style of play, one thing you noticed in the first 2 box scores, a lot of three-point shots on the perimeter, tons of perimeter play, over 70 between the first 2 games. Is that something that we can expect throughout the season, a lot of perimeter-focused offense?
No.
Okay, all right.
No, the last game, I felt like shot selection. I don't want them to play tight, and I don't want them to be scared to shoot the ball. We want them to feel confident that if they're open to shoot it. And so we worked, especially in that Tiffin loss by 4, and having the lead at halftime, and them not even tying it up till midway through the third, right? We shot a lot of threes. 42 out of our 67 shots were from the 3, and I'm a firm believer layups and rim attacks win you games, or at least keep you in the game consistently. Mid-range jumpers will break down defense and win you games, and then threes that are quick and contested will lose you games. And I feel like that's what happened with Tiffin. And so there are times when our players are wide open, and I want them to shoot the shot. There are times where the shot was a second thought or someone's not open, and so now I'm going to shoot it. They're not in rhythm. If it's contested, we can have a contested 3 at any point in the 30 seconds that we possess the ball. And so we would like for the opposing team to have to work a little bit harder on defense. And so one of the challenges with this team, especially in the team that we inherited, we had a lot of set shooters. We didn't have a lot of kids that attacked the rim. And so we're trying to develop that with them outside of practice in individuals and making it a point of emphasis to attack the rim and to finish through contact. And so that's something where the team has got to grow. Fast shots, yeah, probably. And ideally players that make those plays more consistently than what we showed in our first 2 competitions.
And looking ahead to this first homestand here, Kentucky Wesleyan tonight at the time of this recording, but the next game when this coach's show is published will be Ferris State on Saturday. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you haven't looked too far past Kentucky Wesleyan, but looking ahead to Ferris State and maybe down the line, what are some of the biggest keys if you guys are going to even up the record 0-2 right now?
Overall for the whole season, for us to compete, and not even to win, to compete, it's going to be a defensive emphasis. We're not extremely tall, we're not extremely quick, and we're not extremely athletic. This is just blunt. And so what it's going to take is for the girls to buy into our philosophy in terms of defense to afford us the best opportunity to compete. We are small in terms of very little inside presence, and so our defensive keys in terms of getting in front of the post and putting a lot of pressure on ball and keeping them to the sideline and baseline. Right, there's no secret. This is how we're playing. It might be now because we weren't very consistent in those first 2 games. No one knows what kind of defense we're playing. But essentially, I want to push sideline and baseline. There's 2 extra defenders. We want to get in front in the post because we are undersized, and hopefully avoid making substitutions based on fouls, right? We want to be more proactive than reactive and more of a dictating defense. If we can get to that, we will be competitive.
Definitely, and there's certainly enough talent on the roster to be competitive, and should be a few good games coming up here to open up the home slate.
Absolutely.
Coach, appreciate you taking the time, and best of luck tonight and this weekend.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.